All right, welcome back to Muckrakers. Good to see everybody.
Good to see
I'm
you.
Justin Luke. This is Cindy Phillips. We have a special guest.
Yes, we do.
Kristen Plaisance.
All right. So Muckrakers is about finding the good and all the muck. We all know that there's a ton of muck out there, and it takes a lot of effort to find the good. But you know what? We found a piece of gold right here, just like last time. Found Cindy here. So how about you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Kristen Plaisance. I am a resident of Montgomery County. I have lived mostly in Harris County for the last 20 years and moved to Montgomery County 2 years ago. And so I have lived in Montgomery County for 2 years, and I'm a mother and a grandmother and just a normal everyday person. I was never involved in politics or even supporting political candidates really, other than a small donation for, the last 40 years. I am just very new to getting into politics and trying to move things in a direction towards freedom and liberty for people.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
Yes.
Wait a second, that's all of our, that's like her story,
Yes.
my story.
Yes.
I mean, wow, so that's amazing. Okay, well, fantastic.
It is.
Cindy, what's been going on with you?
Well, we've had a lot of an exciting week with lots of different events, some of which involved Kristen here. We've been to county commissioner courts. We've been to
Fantastic.
school board meetings. What else? Meet the candidate meetings. We went to kickoff fundraiser for Senator Creighton this week.
Wow.
It's been on average 2 to 3 events a day this week.
Wow,
So
yeah, that's great.
Busy,
That's
busy.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we know a gentleman by the name of Billy Graff kicking off his.
Yes.
So that's going to be really exciting to see where his path goes. So that'll
I'm
be
going to
really
go
good.
hear him speak tonight. I'm
Oh, that'd be
excited.
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
he
very
was-
good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the next question is posed to you. What got you involved? What's motivating you? What areas are you most involved in?
So for the last year, since the 2020 election, I have been sitting back, watching, waiting, hoping, praying, saying to myself, like many today, is somebody gonna do something? I pray that somebody is gonna do something. Please, somebody do something. But that is not my nature. My nature is a doer. I'm a doer. That's the kind of thing I do. I just didn't know what to do.
Right.
I did not know what to do. So I found a group of people that were starting to work together to change things. And we're all just average Americans, doing things every day, just little things to help kind of rectify this mess, to rake up the muck. There's a common misconception that ordinary people can't make a difference, that calling your elected officials or writing your elected officials doesn't work. But the state of Louisiana's Attorney General was sitting on the sidelines doing nothing for his people. And the Louisiana residents fought back by sending him these letters called You Stood By letters. You can go to www.youstoodby.com to read the letter. And he received so many of those letters from his constituents that he finally filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration against vaccine mandates. In his recorded message, when talking about the lawsuit that he filed, he used these words: I will not stand by.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
The Texas constitutional carry law was passed because Lieutenant Governor received over 10,000 phone calls in one day from constituents asking him to add that bill into the regular legislative session. The Arizona audit was conducted because thousands of Arizona residents sent notices and affidavits to the state legislators demanding the audit and demanding exactly what they expected the audit to entail.
Yeah.
And they got everything that they asked for. So behind the scenes, there are things going on. There are things that average Americans are doing to help rectify the situation. And when you show up in mass, when you do these types of things in mass, it makes a huge difference. So the important thing is to join a group of people that are doing those things together, because then it starts to move the Overton window.
So I have a quick question regarding the "You Stood By." What does something like that say? Like this letter, is it more of a petition, sort of like the Convention of States, or is it an actual letter that's already formatted and they just sign it, or how does that work?
It is. It's a letter that is already pre-formatted on that website, and you simply copy it or print it out and send it to your state legislators, your attorney, anyone who you believe applies to that "You Stood By" letter. And it is basically, stating exactly what our government officials have done over the last 2 years. They stood by while we were locked in our homes. They stood by while businesses were shuttered.
They
stood by while our constitutional rights have been deteriorated.
I feel like saying, preach.
Preach!
It really
This is
is.
crazy. Yeah.
And the lieutenant governor, the governor, the attorney general of Louisiana received so many of those letters that his secretary actually sent out a notice saying, please stop sending us letters. He wants to run for governor and y'all are making him look bad.
Right.
Well, the reply from the group was, he will never be governor if he doesn't start standing up
That's true.
for what the American people want, for what
That's
the
right.
people of Louisiana want. We have to start pushing back on what they're doing. That is the only way we're going to institute change.
That's right.
And the things that we're doing are easy. They're things people can do from their pajamas,
That's right.
10 to 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week.
That's right.
None of this is rocket science. And everything we are doing is legal, it's moral, it's ethical, and it's nonviolent.
That's right.
We don't
It's
propose.
the way things are supposed to be done
That's
in our
right.
country.
That's right.
Correct,
That's
correct. The way things are supposed to be done. We have a right from our Constitution to petition our government for a redress of grievances.
That's right.
We have the right to petition our government to say, this is what we want. In this country, all of the power, not some of the power, all of the power belongs to the people.
That's right.
That's right. Very
Yes.
good. That is true.
So Cindy, how did you find such a gem?
It was totally a God thing. So, I have a group called the Rally Gals. It's growing, and we have a group of us that started a rally against the mandates. And one thing led to another, and we got wind of another group that was having a rally. And we showed up at that rally, and they were passing out information about this meeting that took place at 2:00 every Sunday. And it's at Mezcal's Cantina, I believe it is, on 1488.
Correct.
And it's just a group of conservatives. It's open to everybody. And so I said, let's go. So
That's
we
awesome.
showed up the very next day, and I met Kristen and another bunch of others from her group. And what was the name of the group again, Kristen? What is this group called?
We just call ourselves the Tory group.
Tory
Tory
group.
It's the
group.
Tory group, and it's just because the group was started by a lady named Tory,
Okay.
and she now has a group in every county of every state
Oh, wow.
throughout the U.S.
That is
So
fantastic.
these are everyday Americans making a difference, not just in Montgomery County, in every single county. And we get together and work on projects that are going to be beneficial. And some of those projects are county specific, some are state specific, and some are nationwide.
Okay.
So, if you talk about sending, the governor of Texas a letter, he's going to receive letters, probably hundreds of letters from every county in the
wow.
state.
No, that's great.
So,
That is fantastic.
Yes.
So it's flooding them with just saying, look, we're not going to stand for this. period.
Absolutely.
And that's the way
Absolutely.
it is.
Yeah.
or
So-
not just we're not going to stand for this, but this is what we want.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what the American people want, or this is what the people of Texas want.
Right.
Wow.
And when you do that in mass, they do listen.
Yeah.
They do
Oh, yeah.
start to
Well, they
listen.
have to.
It does
Yes.
make
They
a
do.
difference.
They do.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah. Wow,
absolutely.
that's amazing.
That is true.
Yes.
Well, that's really fantastic.
It is.
So you're saying that all this can be done, I don't know, a couple times a week, 15 minutes, at a time? You just take a look at the letter. If you agree with it, you sign it, you send it in, that type of stuff?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then what if you have a specific grievance that you're interested in? Say for example, I don't know if you guys know this, but a letter was leaked or an email was leaked that Merrick Garland is actually going after parents. They're actually
Yes.
swearing on. And it's unbelievable. Even though Merrick Garland went in front of Congress and testified that we weren't really doing it. He was doing it.
Yeah.
And so, is this something that your group would say? Look, Texas need to protect their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
what does that process look like?
So first you post it to your county group, then you post it to your state group, then you can post it to the national group, and you ask people to join you, especially if it's something on a national level. If it's on a state level, then you're going to stop it at the state level because you're going to get more attention from people who are actually residents. So if you're trying to go against the school board in your specific county, then you only want to keep it to the
Yeah, that
county.
makes
So
sense.
it just depends on what the grievance is. But yeah, anyone can post in the county, anyone can post in the state. So if you have something you want help with, like, hey, we need to be working on this, you can put in a call to action.
Wow, that's
It
fantastic.
is. It is.
Yes. And every week we have several call to actions where we ask, like, hey, we need people to do this. Sometimes it's, hey, can you show up at the county commissioners meeting? We're asking for a specific resolution. Right now, we're asking the county commissioners to designate Montgomery County as a sanctuary county.
Yeah.
Sanctuary county against government overreach, a constitutional county,
Yeah.
basically.
I remember
So-
Cindy was talking about a little bit about that too.
So we're working on that at the county level.
And that got posted in this group, and within a week, we have a meeting with the county commissioner. We were requested a meeting
Oh, that's
by them.
fantastic.
So,
Yes.
and that was due to all of these citizens
That is
writing in.
Very fast actions.
Very fast. I was
the
surprised.
turnaround is amazing. So
It
that
is.
tells you the power
Yeah.
of what an individual can do
Yes.
just by joining the right group.
That's right.
And
Taking
I
their
mean,
own
that's
actions.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
really
it
great.
is.
Yeah.
So
And it's so positive.
It
It
is.
really, I spent a lot of time sitting and looking and hoping and praying somebody was going to do something. Now that I'm actually out there doing something every single week to help move this
Yes.
Overton window back towards freedom, it's such a relief. I'm not focused on the negativity anymore. I'm focused on the positivity.
Yes.
What can
Right.
we do
It
to
is.
move things?
It is.
It just
Yeah,
kind of puts you in a
exactly.
completely different mindset.
well, the other part of this too is you have your own job too. Like I have this isn't my full-time gig.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, you have a full-time gig, and I believe you're retired, right?
I self-retired.
But-
When I got into
but
all this, yes.
You still do a lot of other stuff
Yeah,
too
Right,
outside
right.
of.
Yes, many other activities.
So yeah, so with it being said that you've got a large amount of people that do 15 minutes of work, that winds up turning into.
That's it.
It seems to me that the people that we're going against have been doing this for 24/7, 365 for 20 years.
Yes.
Or longer.
And so, so to try to combat that takes everything, it takes a lot. There's a lot more of us, which is
There are.
great.
Correct.
And what's even better is because there's so much of us that they don't need to dedicate as much time if they don't want to.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And so that's
That's
really great. And I think
Absolutely.
with that mindset, that's where we're going to get our country back. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And I-
Correct. It's all things that are going on behind the scenes. It's not going to be one big, huge event that's
Yeah.
all of a sudden going to change everything. It's going to be people behind the scenes doing little things every week
Yes.
to move this back in our direction. And it will move back in our direction.
Yeah.
Tyranny always loses.
That's right.
It always loses.
That's right.
So, but it only loses when the people stand up.
That's right.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
that's
the
it.
more people that stand up
That's
and
right.
the faster they stand up, the sooner this is over.
Exactly.
So do we want this over 20 years from now? Or do we want this over
Next
do we want
week, please.
this week?
All right.
So the
Oh.
faster people stand up and help us, the
That's
sooner
it.
it's
I
over.
was having a conversation earlier today about that exact same thing. I'm like, when I was growing up as a kid, I was thinking, this is what my adult life's going to look like, and where did all this stuff come from? I'm like, this is not the way my adult life's supposed to be. I
No.
shouldn't be spend this much time on trying to do all this work and then more work and then I've got to do more work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For tax, yeah.
I mean, I got to work to feed my family. I got to work to give all my taxes to the government, and then I got to work against the government that's using my taxes against me. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is.
Right.
So
It is.
Right, absolutely. So speaking of that and getting involved, a lot of people they don't know where to start. What can I do to make a difference? I'm just little me, there's nothing that I can do. But I'm telling you, there are things that you can do. So what I would say to you is, one, join Telegram. Free speech is alive on Telegram.
Mhm.
It isn't a perfect app, but it's what we have to use right now where we're not going to be censored.
And the Telegram CEO has clearly said, use my platform for free speech. I will not be shut down.
Yeah.
So
Right.
he has specifically said that. So
Absolutely.
it's fantastic.
That's good.
Absolutely. So join Telegram. Once you're on Telegram, if you're in Montgomery County, find TT, 3 T's, and then TX for Texas, Montgomery County. Or if you are not in Montgomery County, you can look for me, Kristen, Kristen, the letter P for Plaisance, and TX. And you can look for me and I will help connect you to your proper county or to your state level. But if you're in Montgomery County, join that Telegram group and get in the game. Start doing some of these action items. They're super easy. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of patriots and a bunch of concerned citizens working together.
That's right.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing right now that I can see, and I'd love to hear both your thoughts on this one, is we're fighting against a media that's pushing and really propagating that tyranny
Yes.
really badly. And I'd love to hear how your group is helping against that, and then, just your overall idea.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just keep pushing all the alternate media out there. Alternate media is growing, like we know, by leaps and bounds. I think the last number I heard for the viewership of CNN, it was less than 500,000 nationwide. I don't like to use the word pitiful. That's pitiful. It is what it is.
Truth hurts.
Truth hurts. So I think that the mainstream media is becoming an echo chamber.
yes.
And I think, what is it? I don't want to necessarily advertise, but like the Joe Rogan podcast has over 10 million.
Yeah.
I know there's Dan Bongino. There's so many other different conservative type freedom loving.
I'd say freedom loving. I don't know.
Freedom
if Joe
loving.
is,
That's it. No, exactly. Freedom loving, liberty loving media, the alternative medias. And so I think that's the key. Is I try to push out so many a day to all my groups. It's like, hey, watch this one. Everything on Rumble, all those different. I know this podcast is on Rumble. So just I think that's the key. It's up to we the people. Just like when I said to the Commissioners Court this week, I was letting them know we need to give a voice to the people who've had injuries to these vaccines, because that is not even the mainstream is not going to give that.
no, they're not.
When a U.S. senator hosts people in the U.S. Capitol, and not one mainstream media shows up, and they were all invited, not one single elected official like Dr. Fauci and the likes of them, not one showed up, and they were all invited. And Senator Ron Johnson said at the beginning of that roundtable meeting, he said that's a disgrace.
Yeah, it is.
And it is.
I don't
So-
know if you should even call them mainstream anymore.
No,
I'd call them
okay,
corporate media.
We
That's
are
it.
the
Corporate media.
news
Yeah,
now.
we
Yeah.
are the
Really,
right.
we're going to defeat the news conglomerate by not being afraid to speak,
Right.
not being afraid to speak to our friends,
That's it.
our neighbors, our family members,
Yeah.
and start to speak out. They
Right.
have made us afraid
Yes.
to speak out.
Mhm.
They have tried to shame us and
Bully
make
us.
us bully us, make
Yes.
us think that we are the minority.
Mhm.
We are not the minority.
That's
We
right.
are the main majority.
We are.
The main majority of the American people just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want
Live our
freedom,
life,
they
freedom.
want liberty,
Yes.
they
Well,
want to live their lives.
And to kind of circle back what you were saying, most conservatives essentially want, you can have your opinion. That's
Yeah,
fine. Go ahead and
yes,
have your opinion.
yeah.
You'll grow up one day and figure it out on your
That's
own.
right.
Sure.
But what's happened is it's not happened because of the echo chamber.
That's
And
it.
so they never really grew up. So they come into life, as an adult, and they
Yeah.
think, oh yeah, my mommy gave me everything. Now it's the government's
Yeah.
turn to
totally.
give me everything. And it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that. You
No.
actually have to work for yourself.
That's it.
Right.
So pretty
That is
crazy
right.
stuff. I
It
mean,
is.
I don't know if you guys following the Rittenhouse thing.
Yeah.
It was pretty
Absolutely.
crazy.
Oh, yeah, it
And
is.
that in itself kind of tells you everything you need to know about the mainstream media or corporate media. It tells
Yes.
you everything you need to know. They
Yes.
do not. It's so slanted. They only tell one side,
Oh yeah.
and then people consume that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm to me, I look at them like, look, your heart is darkening.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Maybe you should step away from that
Mhm.
and really try to figure out what actually has happened, because the
Right.
raw stuff is out there.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Exactly.
that's the type of stuff that I think we're going to be fighting against the most coming up, is going to be, those basic freedoms that we have. Second Amendment, First Amendment. We're already fighting the First Amendment.
Right.
Second Amendment's, they're continuously trying to attack that.
That's right.
And so I think where this group would be great is keep pushing letters saying,
Yeah.
look, we need to be a 2A sanctuary, period.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And,
Right,
and
right.
that's it.
Right.
So, but
Absolutely.
that's interesting stuff there.
I think
And-
it's. Okay.
Oh, sorry. And another news clip is, our pal Beto has decided that he's going to join.
To join, yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting thing, and
Mhm.
he's against 2A. So, anyways, I just wanted to throw those news items out
Yeah,
real quick,
no,
and
it's-
love to
it's-
hear you guys' opinions on those things, because
Yeah.
they're all related.
Yes, they are
They
all
are.
related. All of this is related.
Yes.
Everything that we see going on today
Mhm.
is all related. And until we all kind of stop believing the lies that,
That's right.
that
Mhm.
none of this is related to anything else,
Right.
it is all related.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
I gave a speech at the Montgomery County Commissioners meeting this week, specifically talking about the election, the
Mhm.
election integrity, and how the election integrity issues we had in the 2020 election have led to all of this tyranny that we are seeing
Yes.
today, the
Right.
medical tyranny, the
Yeah.
corporate tyranny. They feel emboldened
Yes, they do.
to do these things because they don't feel beholden to the American people anymore.
Exactly.
They feel like they can just do what they want because
right.
they're going to win anyway
Yes.
because
Exactly.
they can rig the game in
Yes.
their favor.
That's right.
So we have to stop that
That's
because if we don't stop that,
Yeah.
we can never be free. This
That's right.
this is the beginning.
It
People
is.
think if you take the
Yeah.
vaccine, you'll get all of your freedoms back and this
No.
will be over.
No.
This is the beginning. This
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
the end.
No, it isn't. You're right. This is step one.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
interesting you said that. I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day regarding that. I said, just think about this for just a minute. I mean, this is a little abstract thinking, but just think about it, how this works out. A virus comes out, and now you have to take, you are mandatory to take this vaccine. And then 6 months later, you have to take a booster.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to raise your taxes. Why do you think all that's happening? Well, you're raising your taxes so you can pay the corporations that are making this vaccine to be distributed, which is looking like it's free, but it's not. You're paying for
Right.
it in taxes.
Right.
But guess what? 6 months, every 6 months, you're going to have to take a
That's
booster
right.
every 6 months. But meanwhile, your taxes are continuing to go up and up and up. Meanwhile, these companies are getting filthy rich. The elite are further away from the normal, the rest of us.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's just going to continue to divide and divide and divide and divide and divide. And then next thing you know, we're Cuba.
Oh yeah.
And it's all on purpose.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's
And
intentional.
it's
exactly
all on purpose.
Yeah, it is. It's intentional. It's
You
very
know,
intentional.
I'll tell you a quick history lesson. I'm a history buff. I love history.
Yes. me too.
Years ago in my 20s, I read a book. And in this book, it showed a propaganda poster that hung in Germany around 1932 to 1934. And the poster disgustingly said, Jews are lice. They carry typhoid.
Mm.
And you can look up that poster
Okay.
today. You can still
Mhm.
find it if you look up that phrase that I just said. And what most people don't realize is that Nazi Germany did not start with tanks rolling down the
No, it did
street
not.
and
No, it
them
didn't.
rounding up the Jewish
That's
people,
right.
because had it started that way, the German people would have pushed back.
Yeah.
It started with a propaganda campaign that Jews carried a disease
Right.
that the German people didn't carry, and that if you commingled with the Jewish people, you would get this disease. The Jewish people would kill your children because your children would get typhoid, and they made the German people afraid
Yeah.
of the Jewish people. And then they used that fear to say, well, we need to get the Jewish people away from the German people. We need to separate them, and then it eventually led to them being removed from society and then removed into concentration camps. They used that propaganda
Yeah.
to dehumanize, demoralize,
That's right.
and segregate that population from the other. Well, who have they been targeting for the last several years? It's been white Christian conservatives.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the Constitution does not allow you to target white people because of race. They don't allow you to target conservatives or Christians because of religion.
Right.
And nobody's afraid of conservatives. You might not agree
Yeah.
with their policies, but you're not afraid of conservatives. Your
No.
Nana
Yes.
might be a conservative.
Right.
She baked you cookies.
Yeah,
You know,
Exactly.
you're not afraid.
Right.
But all of a sudden, when you recategorize those people as the unvaccinated,
Vaccinated.
that they carry a
Well,
disease you don't carry and
that's
that
it.
they could make you sick,
Yeah.
oh, all of a sudden, maybe Nana can't come to Christmas
That's
because
right.
she's trying to kill your children.
You're
They've
right.
also done a separation by saying we have people of color
Yes.
and then we have people not of color. So
Mhm.
they've made that distinction,
Yes.
and now everything's targeted towards the people that are not of color.
Right.
So,
Right.
which is Caucasian or white people.
Yeah.
So they've made that severe distinction.
Right.
There's white people, and then there's everybody else against the white person. That's how
Right.
they've done it.
Right.
And I've noticed this on all of any of the left wing media stuff. You know, New
Mhm.
York Post, Washington
Oh, yeah.
Post. Or New York Times. Sorry, not Post. New York Times, Washington Post. I will name drop on some of these because it's ridiculous. The
Right.
Atlantic, all these people, they pull that crap, and it is driving me insane. And that stuff needs to stop. And
Right.
I'm not. And so, what's the answer to get those people to stop? That's the question. That's the question.
To speak the truth.
Speak
To,
Yeah.
to speak the truth. They don't want you to talk about what happened in Nazi Germany.
Right.
They always say nothing can compare to Nazi Germany, and nothing can compare
Right.
to the disgustingness of what
But it's
happened
getting there.
to the Jewish people. But the reason they don't want you to talk about it is because they don't want you to see it when
Yeah.
it's coming at you again.
See the
Yeah.
They
parallels?
want to use that same playbook again.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to see. Now, will it get as bad as Nazi Germany? I surely hope not.
Yeah.
But I think it will go every bit as far as we allow it to go.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
very true.
And I think the answer to what you said about how do we combat what these newspapers and such do, we don't give them our money. We don't give them our readership, and we tell people, we educate each other, and we ask everybody. Whenever I put something out there, I say, send this to 10 people that you know, and we know how that works. I mean, look, everybody's getting their news more now from social media and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we can push the truth out there and say, hey, take a look at this website, take a look at this, look at Epic Times, look at, let's take a look at some of these other alternative medias. And before you know it, like you said, mainstream media will have a new name for it, and it won't be it'll be minuscule media or something
Yeah,
because
something,
they're
yeah.
not going to be around. Yeah, it's going
Right.
to be. There's not nobody. They might be around, but nobody will be reading or watching it or
Well,
listening to it.
what
Right.
drives these media sites is two things: hate and fear.
Right.
And it's amazing how people are, they read a title. They may not even read the whole thing. They
No,
just read
just-
the title, and then they'll come back and, they get mad.
Right.
And it's like, just stop.
Right.
Let's step back for a second. Is
Right.
that, first off, think logically, is this actually true?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
And what are they actually trying to say? And 9
Facts.
times out of 10, they're the stuff in the body of their piece don't really match up with what their headline is. They're just doing the
It's
sensationalization.
sensationalism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so,
Well, and to Kristen's point, when she said earlier, and I totally agree, when she said, when you get involved, even if it is just sending those letters, you're in part of these groups, it's so empowering and so uplifting. And I love that analogy another Patriot friend of mine said, and I said, this is really good because people can understand sports,
Yeah.
usually. And he said, it's kind of like when you're in the football game, you're in the stands watching the game, the fans on the sidelines are just they're undone. They're like, they're so nervous and they're just like so upset by what's happening on the field. He said the players could care less, win or lose, they're in the game,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they have a totally different mindset. And I was like, I like
That's
that
true.
analogy because
Very
I
true.
feel like that now. I don't even focus on, when something negative comes along, I'm like, bring it. That's another issue that we
Just
can
something
take
else
on.
to,
Yeah, that's
sweep.
another challenge
Yeah,
that we
exactly.
can take on.
Yeah,
And
no, that's great.
you know,
Well, that's a great segue into what we can do to, what's the next steps? What are the things that we can do to continue the positive push? So, why don't you go ahead and just kind of go through
I can tell
what you
you
think?
yeah, sure. I
Yeah.
can tell you the things that we're working on this week. What's really kind of important in our group this week. The most important is that on November the 23rd, that's just a few days from now.
Oh,
next
gosh.
Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday, there's going to be a lawsuit filed with the U.S. Supreme Court. And that suit is going to show the true state of our elections in this country.
Oh,
It's going to be the
good.
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Man, I've been waiting for that for a while now.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
I've
all
seen
have.
some raw data on that. I
Yes.
can't really talk too much about it, but I've seen some raw
Yeah,
data on it.
it's all-
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Right. So
It's blowing
that
my mind.
when that suit
That's
comes out, it's
fantastic.
going to outline all of the evidence that's been collected over the last year. So all
I know,
of the
right?
audits that have been
Exciting.
done, there's audits we know about, and there's audits we don't even know that have already happened. So they're going to be talking about that. Everything is going to be out in the open for the world to see.
Oh,
It
that's gonna
will
be
be
great.
part of the public record. So you can go and find that lawsuit when it's filed next Tuesday. So what we are doing right now is we are petitioning all of the attorney generals throughout the country. We are petitioning them to join that lawsuit.
That's
This is a
great.
lawsuit that will be filed by the attorney generals of every state. So we need those attorney generals on board.
So, in other words, write letters to those AGs to get your.
Well, it's even easier for you than that because
Oh,
you
wow.
can go to, let me turn my page here so I can see this website. My pages are all stuck together. You can go to jointhesuit.com or, yes, jointhesuit.com. And there is actually a letter you can print out and you can send it. Yes, this is the letter right here. Do you want to read the letter?
You can.
You want me to read the
Sure,
letter?
that'd be great.
I think this is
Okay,
great.
do we have time to read the
Yeah,
letter?
absolutely.
Absolutely. So this is the letter. Attorney General Ken Paxton, that's the Attorney General of Texas, if you don't know that. Over the past few months, the people of the state of Texas have communicated with your office on numerous occasions, whether through phone, fax, or email, seeking your intercession for the grave injustices of the people of Texas. The injustices the people of Texas have suffered as a result of a federal government that has overreached well beyond the bounds of what could have been considered reasonable by our founding fathers and mothers. The constitutional atrocities inflicted upon the people through the actions and inactions of the Biden administration are especially egregious given the mounting evidence showing that the current presidential administration may not have been duly elected through a democratic process that accurately reflects the will of the people of the United States of America.
Mic drop.
I know, it is. It's
Just
good.
saying.
It is.
Today, you are once again presented with a choice and a tremendous opportunity to stand for the rights of your constituents, which are not only memorialized in the Constitution of the state of Texas and of the United States of America, but more importantly, are embodied in the natural rights enshrined in each individual who is, by virtue of being an American, his or her own sovereign. On November the 23rd, a lawsuit drafted by Kurt Olson will be filed in the Supreme Court of the United States, asking the court to examine certain evidence purporting to establish the existence of substantial, widespread fraud in the November 2020 presidential election. We demand that you honor your commitment to the people of Texas, who have entrusted you to uphold and protect their individual rights and liberties, and by adding your name to the list of states' attorneys generals who are filing the lawsuit. Unlike the matter of Texas versus Pennsylvania, which last December was dismissed by the Supreme Court for lack of standing, this lawsuit will not focus on the election processes of individual states, but will instead ask the Supreme Court to directly examine the mountains of evidence that have amassed over the past year since the Biden administration was installed. Given the quality of the evidence to be presented to the court and the seriousness of allegations of election impropriety, we believe it would be a dereliction of duty for you to ignore the lawsuit while other attorney generals fight on behalf of their respective constituents. In support of our plea, we ask you to consider the immortal words of St. George Tucker, whose view of the Constitution of the United States is considered the first extended systemic commentary on the United States Constitution after it was ratified and amended by the Bill of Rights. Having first been published in 1803, it was considered for many years to be an important handbook for judges, attorneys, law students, and statesmen. In that publication, Tucker, an attorney, judge, and law professor at the College of William and Mary, stressed that the Constitution draws its authority from the consent of the sovereign, the people of the several states. See, all the power belongs to the people of this country.
And it's by the states that's what people don't understand is they think that the United States, the federal government, it reigns over the states, and it's not that way at all.
No.
The federal just manages the commerce between the states and between states and foreign entities.
And it exists because of the states, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Correct. The United States really should be looked of more as each state is its own little country.
Exactly.
And then we have an agreement with the federal government to help us with certain
That's
things.
precisely.
And they have really become bloated, overreaching, and ridiculous.
Yes, they have.
Well, and any of these federal agencies that come out, I mean, they're just overstepping altogether. But we are running out of time, so thank you so much for coming on board.
And Justin, is it okay if can we put these links in the bottom of the podcast so that people can look for them?
I can do that,
Okay.
and we can also put it on our muckrakers.org
Perfect. That way people
site
can
as
find
well.
these.
So
Perfect.
that'll work out really
Very
good.
good.
So
Perfect.
really want to thank you very much. You found a
Yes.
really good gem.
She's awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
just come out and get involved.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Signing off with Muckrakers, Justin Liu.
Cindy Phillips.
Kristen Plaisance.
All right, bye-bye.
Opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and ownership of mcplive.tv.